The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM. Ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala, ya hala.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and you're listening to Sisters Speak on Inspire 105.1 FM, and you're here with me, Faiza.
And me, Mariam.
And today we are going to be discussing charity. So before we get into that, Mariam, let us know what our show is about.
So our show is a platform for Muslim girls to voice their own opinions on current events and issues, and even form discussions on general topics such as religion, culture, politics and social media. We want to note that all opinions and views are our own and respect all other opposing views. I just want to add another note. We're going to be talking about mental health and anxiety, so that might be triggering for some. So please do listen. Please be mindful of that. Yeah.
So if you do want to get involved in today's show, you can call us on 01582481822. You can text or WhatsApp us on 07779481822. Or you can even comment on our Facebook Live, which I think is going live. Yeah. So comment down below there and let us know your thoughts, views and opinions on that too. So before we get into that, we do this little segment on our show every single week. It's the thought for the week. So it's just something we want to share with each other, something that may be beneficial. Maybe you have a thought yourself, you know, to those who are listening, that you would want to share with other people that you think would be beneficial, not just for yourself, but for them as well. So, yeah. Mariam, what's your thought for the week?
My thought of the week is it's about how we frame our thinking. I think we don't realise how powerful thoughts are. I know that sounds a bit cliche because it's thought of the week, but we're so mindful of how we feed our bodies. You know, we want to exercise so we are healthy. We want to eat healthily. We drink a lot of water. We look at all these tips and tricks to help us sustain our function, like the way we function. But we don't think about our thoughts. We don't govern our thoughts. We don't think, are we feeding ourselves negative thoughts? Are we feeding ourselves thoughts that, you know, might inhibit us from succeeding? Or are we telling ourselves that we can't do something when we actually can? These are all thoughts. They're not actions, and they're not something that's concrete. And it makes me think that, you know, when a situation happens and when we experience something, there's a figure that shows that I read online that when something happens to you, 20% of the situation is in your control and 80% is your reaction. Have you heard of that?
A little bit.
Yeah. So,
especially when you're angry, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, the variable is your reaction. Mm-hmm. If you can't control something, why worry about it? Right? So, you know, in that sense, I think that it's so important that you take a step back and you think, well, I can't control a few things, but the way I react can be controlled. So, say if you have an extremely stressful situation, say if you have exams, the way you react to your exams can either maximize your success, or it can decrease your ability to succeed. So, for me personally, because I've said this on the show before, I get overwhelmed quite quickly. It's about understanding that my thoughts are the biggest driving force of how I experience something. And I think it's really important to be in tune of what I'm thinking, and making sure that I'm feeding myself positive thoughts. And I think that relates to faith as well. I think if you, we were just talking about this before the show actually, is that we don't have faith in God. We don't show that faith in Allah, that, you know, He's actually look aftering us. It's like this. It's like we go on a plane. Once we're on the plane, we think, okay, we're going to get to our destination. We don't think about the qualification that the pilot has. We trust him. We trust him that he's going to take us to our destination, because we paid for it. We have this assumption that everything's going to be okay. But how about we use that allegory to experience our life, that Allah's driving the ship that you're on, that, you know, wherever He takes you, so long as you take the effort, so long as you take the steps towards something that you want to achieve, He's driving that ship, and He has control over that. And I think for me personally, that really is comforting, because there's so much you can do. You have a set amount of capacity, and the rest is with Allah, and He's the best of planners.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important that you have these conversations with yourself, because it reminds you that, you know, you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. Allah's doing that for you. You just have to take the steps towards Him. What's your thought of the week, Faiza?
That's very like, I don't know, it just seems like quite a lot, but at the same time very effective. That makes sense.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel like when you have a stressful situation? Do you not think that it's
I
more of
freak
your
out.
reaction?
Panic
Yeah,
straight
I agree.
away.
I do the same exact thing. But do you ever catch yourself thinking that, wait, these are just thoughts in my head,
Yeah,
and they're
of
just
course.
brewing in my head?
Yeah, like sometimes you kind of over panic when you shouldn't panic that much. It's the overthinking aspect of it, and I feel like if anyone else as well who is listening, let us know your thoughts as well. Like when you're in such situations where, you know, your mind is constantly overthinking or it's panic, like what's your first, like how do you calm yourself down? You know, how do you get back to the rational thinking?
Yeah, it's
Let us know.
rationalizing.
Yeah, let us know, because I think everyone has their own different ways, but
Oh, what would you describe your way as then?
I think it's just like breathing in and out, like really.
Well, that's
like,
interesting, because I will
deeply.
talk about that in a hot topic.
Okay. Breathing deeply, you know, just taking your breath, kind of maybe putting your mind to something else, you know, keeping busy away from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, complete sense.
Yeah.
I just feel that, you know, especially as you grow older and you take on responsibilities, you know, you're going to, you know, this life is a test. Allah gave this, is not going to be easy. You know, for Muslims, this world is a test, and the akhirah is when you know, it's your eternal life. And I think that's another comforting thing, that everything is temporary, good and bad is temporary. That whatever hardship you have, it's going to be over. For example, Faiza, alhamdulillah, you had
you have
lots of
blessings,
yeah, you have lots of yeah, sorry, I'm just
You have different blessings.
you have different
basically.
blessings, and you know, you get the unexpected. You know, there's some things that happen to you, and you know, you really want them to happen, and Allah gives you that, and it becomes unexpected.
Yeah.
So you know, and that I experienced the same thing. Like, you know, something unexpected happened to me, but you know, I prayed and prayed and prayed, but
Yeah.
do you have a comment?
Yeah, Kashmala, I think that's your name. I'm not sure. If it isn't, then please correct us. But she just said, you just have to think that I am exactly where Allah wants me to be. I couldn't agree more.
I think that's completely. She's absolutely correct,
Yeah.
because, you know,
Sometimes it's having that faith.
it's
and
having
just
that faith. I think you just
when you're
think that
panicked and
I
you-
should be
yeah.
in. You know, we have this set plan is A, B, C, and D. So why why haven't I reached B?
Exactly.
You know, you think you're standing still, but maybe Allah wants you to jump to D. There's more success in D, and I think, you know, with what Shamaila, did she say?
Kashmala.
Kashmila said. Kashmala.
Kashmala.
Sorry, Kashmala. Apologies for that. It's about reminding yourself that Allah has planned everything out for you, and it's just having that patience. I think that's another thing that we don't consider. We don't be patient in the test that we're given, and we
Yeah.
don't believe that, you know, something's going to happen.
Yeah, and the key word there being patience as well. I feel like sometimes we just ordinarily kind of just give up. After one try, we give up, which is kind of ridiculous.
That's me.
If you think about it. But at the same time, having so much faith and patience, you will be exactly where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be, and that is in the best place. Where else would you want to be apart from where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be?
And it's knowing that He actually has chosen this path for you. I think that's a blessing, because, you know, He just wants you to be grateful. I think
Yeah.
patience and gratitude, they are very intertwined. I think
Definitely.
we shouldn't. I think there's a very blurred line. If you're grateful, you know that Allah's giving the best for you. But if you're patient, you know that, you know, something's good's gonna
Yeah.
come. So when you have gratitude, you are able to confront the situation. And when you're patient, you're able it's sustainable. You can wait for something to come.
So, we have our hot topics, and now everyone listening as well, please do let us know as well. Coming to the middle of Ramadan. We're literally in the middle of Ramadan.
Subhanallah.
It's what, the 16th fast today? Yeah, the 16th fast. Just
That's
checked.
bang on middle or one day after.
One day after, but yeah. How are you feeling?
I think this Ramadan has been completely different for me because I'm working full time. This is my first time working full time, 9 to 5 job. And so the way I experienced Ramadan, the last two,
Completely different.
since my whole life, to be honest, it's always been according to my flexibility. But this time it's, I have commitments, work commitments, and then I have to come home and I have to travel, I have to commute. So it's just been quite challenging, but it has made me think that how flexible Islam is. Like you can adjust yourself according to the life you live. It's not rigid, and it's not to say that I'm not gaining the same rewards that I did the last Ramadans I did, even though it may appear to be that I did more in quantity, but my sincerity has increased this Ramadan. I feel more connected. I feel that even though like if someone was to count up what I did in previous Ramadans and they count up what I did this Ramadan, they'll be like, it's not even it's not even
like a significant kind of.
They'll be like, that's not something to even compare. But I feel in terms of sincerity, I feel that the deeds that I'm doing, I feel more connected to Allah. I feel that I'm actually achieving what I wanted to achieve in Ramadan, and that's getting closer to Allah. And I think for me in other Ramadans, it was just a competition of reading the most Quran. And I'm not saying that reading Quran is a bad thing. Of course, it's the best thing to do. But for me, I'm taking it slow. And I think that is building that personal relationship with Allah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree as well. Anyone else feel the same? How are you feeling now that it's the middle of Ramadan? Are you feeling, is it kind of like reaching the slump kind of thing? Like now you're just so used to it, it's just kind of becoming a routine, which is a good thing. Is it still tiring? How are you spending this Ramadan? Is it better than last? Because I feel like some days are better than others, of course. Some days you're just so dehydrated and you get that horrible dehydrated headache, and then it's just like,
and then do a radio show.
Literally. But aside from that, how are you feeling? Because it's going by so quickly. It's crazy how fast time flies. And, just the other day we were talking about preparations for Ramadan.
We were. It's
here we are, and it's like the middle already.
It's crazy.
Soon it will be the last 10 days.
I think this is our last show before No. We have one more show, and then it's going to be the last one of Ramadan.
No.
Is it 2 more shows?
No, 1. This is it. This is the show. I think.
No, next Tuesday we have one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like it will ease into the last 10 days. Next week's show. Yeah.
Next week's our last show for Ramadan.
Until
Eid.
We have 4th of June.
Ramadan might be on Tuesday though. That's another debate we could have.
Yeah. Well, But how is everyone feeling? Let us know your thoughts and text us in 07779481822 or comment on our Facebook Live. Moving on. Anxiety and Me documentary. Now, Mariam, do you want to take the lead on this?
So on the weekend, I watched a documentary called Anxiety and Me, and it was featuring Nadia Hussain. So for those who don't know who Nadia Hussain is, she is the Great British Bake Off winner, and she won it in 2015. And she's been quite open about her mental health and her anxiety. And so this documentary was her journey in... she never, in her journey to confront her anxiety, because she never took medical help. She never sought that. So for me, it was quite a big thing to watch, because I suffer from anxiety, and I think Nadia is someone I could resonate with because she's also from Luton as well.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was just seeing someone else experience anxiety. Of course, she had her own experiences, and the way she feels is different to me. But, when someone else suffers the same kind of illness as you, it's a very strange feeling to watch that. It's a very raw feeling. And so what the documentary was about, it was her confronting anxiety, actually openly talking about it, because anxiety, for me, it's very irrational. You have all these thoughts in your head, and you think you're always in danger, and it's very exhausting, because you think, you always think the worst thing's going to happen to you, and you can't control it. There's no control over that, and you keep thinking that the most worst possible thing is going to happen if you're to do something, or you feel so inadequate, or you feel so incapable, or you feel that, you know, you feel so sluggish, but you physically can't do something because your anxiety is like bubbling in your throat. It's like strangling you in your throat. And she was describing all these feelings, and she just talked about one incident that can put things into perspective. So she went to the supermarket, and I can't recall the exact incident, but she was supposed to buy coriander, but she accidentally bought parsley, and she had a massive breakdown. And she told her husband, take the kids away, because for her that was a massive trigger. And she felt like she couldn't breathe, and it was just a very, very it was a very difficult situation for her. And so this documentary shows, you know, forced her to speak about what she feels, because when you have anxiety, it's so easy to hold it in. And you don't want it when you talk about it. Even just talking about it, it triggers your anxiety, because you don't know how to even express it. It's so hard to express,
and you don't know how to kind of put into words what exactly you're feeling. And then it doesn't make sense, so then that triggers more anxiety because somebody else doesn't understand what you're saying, or you feel like someone's going to think you're insignificant because they don't understand what's going on in your exactly
head.
You're
like
feeling.
Even just saying that, you know, sometimes getting out of bed is so hard. Like people will think, wait, what? Getting out of bed, such a small thing. People will think
it can be very like misunderstood. That's what anxiety is. Very, very misunderstood.
I think because it's an invisible illness. So she actually she took two routes in her treatment. One was CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy, and she tried medication. She did say that she did try medication before, but after 2 weeks, without doctor's help, without their suggestion, she took herself off the medication, which is not advised at all. Because she kept feeling physically sick, her physical symptoms were really, really bad. And she was saying in the documentary that she had it wasn't really explained to her, the medication that she was taking and why she's taking that medication, so she just gave it up. Like, she didn't see the outcome of it. And the doctor, when she went to another doctor, the doctor said there's a lack of resources, so that's why, you know, instead of having a 15-minute consultation, you know, there's not enough resources for them to explain all the side effects and, you know, the reasons for it. So there was that conversation. But what I find particularly interesting was the cognitive behavior therapy, because I've been to counselling before, so this for me was quite interesting, in how she confronted her anxiety. So one of the strategies she said that when she has anxiety, which what you related to earlier on the show, was she breathes in and out. So what the psychologist did is made her just breathe in and out for no reason. So she did that for 5 minutes, but she broke into tears. She broke into tears because she started recalling all the negative things that happened to her, which I will be talking about afterwards. And he was saying that that's actually an ineffective way to handle your anxiety.
So breathing. Yeah, because sometimes I do it and it's like it's not helping.
Yeah, so, and I was like, whoa, that actually happens to me when I breathe in.
Talking to someone helps.
Breathing in and out is actually... It actually does feel like my chest is getting tighter, because you're thinking too much, like, I need to breathe, I need to breathe, I need to breathe.
And focusing on like how you should breathe, and you're not breathing right, and
so it triggers a lot. So what happened to her, which is really sad and actually made me cry, that she got bullied when she was young, and she went to, I think it was high school, or I can't remember if it was high school or primary school, but people bullied her for the colour of her skin, and they forced her, put her head in the toilet, and they kept flushing it. And
oh my goodness,
because of that, she has this fear of dying all the time, which I when I watched that, tears just rolled down my eyes, because I just thought that experience she had years ago is still affecting her for today. And I think that's something with anxiety. People think, oh, just get over it, but you can't.
And this is the Anxiety and Me documentary, right?
Yeah, Anxiety Me, a documentary. And people just say you can get over it, forget about it, but you can't. When something is so ingrained in your head, it might seem so insignificant. If it's so ingrained in your head, every situation you experience, you're on defense mode. You're scared something's going to happen, because that's what anxiety is. It's you have that adrenaline that you need to protect yourself. You become so defensive, and then once those feelings are over, then you feel really low because you're like, you need to rationalize what you just said. All these emotions you just had, you acted in emotion, and now you have to, the aftermath, you have to pick that up. And you're so conscious of how people are perceiving you. You're so conscious of, what people are going to say to you, that look what she's done, and look how she reacted. It's such a small thing, but to you it's like a mountain. You're carrying a mountain, and for Nadia to break those barriers and talk about mental health, because from the community that we're from, I think it's such an inspirational thing that she's doing, and it's not easy to talk about, especially when you're a public figure. It's not easy for me to talk about anxiety on the radio show. For me, even it's a struggle to talk about it. But I always hope that someone else out there will think, if someone who's suffering anxiety is on a radio show, I'm sure that they can. If you have anxiety, then you can do it too.
Yeah.
You can achieve whatever you want to achieve. But being in the public eye, I cannot imagine how much courage it takes to it's the most
open up about that,
to open up about it. It's such a vulnerable thing to talk about. Anxiety, having mental health issues is such a vulnerable thing, and for her to tell us her story, and and
especially such a story like that as well.
Tell us her story, and publicly take that, seek that help and show us. I think she really should be commended. And I think for those people who do suffer anxiety and do suffer mental health, don't never think you're alone. There's always help out there. Even if you tell a friend, and don't be scared of their reaction. If they react negatively, it's you're not the problem. It's the person that's the problem.
Definitely.
And if you feel like your family's not understanding, and they just don't connect to what you're feeling, then seek other services. If you're in school, there's a counselor. If you're in secondary school, there's services. If you're in university,
there's many services.
There's so many services. If you're in work, there's occupational health.
Yeah, of course.
There's so many services.
There's so many helplines as well that can
there's
help you
helplines.
out. If you don't want to talk to anyone that or you're scared about what might happen.
And I think with those services, it's actually kind of great because you don't know these people, so you can unload.
It's easier to unload to a stranger than it is to someone.
Way it is actually easier. Or you find another platform, maybe adopt creative writing and express your views there. Because I have a friend, he won't mind me saying this. I have a friend, and I met him on my first year of university in creative writing. And mind you, all of us, we both suffered anxiety a lot. We were very, very anxious. And I remember he never used to say anything. I never used to say anything because we both were really anxious. But at the end of the year, I found out he has this Instagram profile that he's quite big poetry person. His name is, Instagram name is The Smiling Akh. I don't know if you've heard of it. But he uses creative writing as his platform and his medium to express himself. And that has helped him, manage and cope with his anxiety. And he's inspired so many other people. So I think it's just finding that thing that helps you. And having that support network, if you don't find that support network, find something that will actually positively impact you and something that you enjoy, because you need to rationalize your thoughts. You need to take it out of your mind. Otherwise, it's just going to brew, and it's just going to make you feel low and low and low. Yeah. And it's going to make you drown.
Yeah. I think we have a comment from someone who, correct me if I'm wrong, I think her name is Alia. And she said, and the stigma against people who talk about it is that, she's an attention seeker, especially if you're a public speaker. And Asians seem to put it on, jinns and stuff, which is wrong. The anxiety aspect of it, especially mental health as well.
Yeah, I think it's
putting it on. I think the attention seeking thing is
true.
It's the misunderstanding. There's no understanding of. Some people can't explain their feeling, like what they're feeling exactly when they're feeling, anxious, when they're feeling panicked, when they have any anxiety in general. You can't fully explain it to someone. For example, like you just said, getting out of bed can be such a huge thing for some people, whereas others will just be like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, people have a misconception that you're being lazy, but it's like you're fighting yourself. I can't explain. It's like you're so exhausted and you don't know why. But as the comment said, what's her name?
Alia.
Alia said, sorry, Alia. Thank you for your comment. People have displace it on, it being other things.
Yeah, or like, she wants attention, that's why she's doing it, which is ridiculous, especially nowadays.
It's not that the generation above us didn't suffer mental health; they just didn't recognize it. It's like,
and they didn't speak about it. It was kind of like a foreign concept. Like it's a very taboo topic. It's not spoken about. People don't want to discuss it because
But they didn't recognize it, and I give that to them. They didn't recognize it, and they didn't know that they're suffering this. It's like if you have an illness but you don't know about it.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to treat yourself?
And how are you supposed to even talk about it if no one knows what
if you're not educated about how you're supposed to recognize it in yourself or someone else.
Of course.
So, those people that think it's attention seeking, something that
reevaluate it, please.
Something that AXA said, and something that I really, really resonate is with that. If someone's reacting or behaving a certain way, take a step back and think what's driving them to feel do that. There must be a driving force, and when you unpack that, you'll able to understand them.
And like even putting yourself in someone else's shoes, like why are they?
Yeah, and I think that's something that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. He tried to understand his people. When he talked to someone,
and being empathetic towards each other.
He moved his entire body to talk to someone. What does that show? You're attentive to the people that you talk to.
Yeah, we'll discuss the rest of this after the break, inshallah. So please do join us after the break, where we'll be discussing more, and also we'll be discussing charity, inshallah.
You're listening to an Inspire FM podcast, making available our popular programs from our daily broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Sisters Speak on Inspire 105.1 FM. And just before the break, we were discussing
mental health and Nadia Hussein's documentary.
Yes. And now we will be discussing our main topic, which is charity, inshallah, which is very, very important, especially in this month of Ramadan. It's very important, in fact. So, Mariam, straight off the bat, what is charity?
You love these one-worded answers, don't you? I actually Googled this just for you.
Oh, Google.
So charity, in definition, is when you volunteer to give someone that is in need your services or just to help them in any shape or form. Is that sufficient for you, Faiza?
Very, very sufficient. Thank you very much for that. Now, what we will discuss is quite a few things in relation to charity, but those who are also listening, please do join in on our discussion as well, because I think it's very important to kind of, giving charity. Why is that important? Feeling like we take things for granted. How can we humble ourselves? And, what other things can we do to, give to charity? So let us know your thoughts and views and opinions. So you can WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. You can call us into the studio on 1582 481822, or you can even comment below on our Facebook live stream. What forms of charity are there?
There's many types of charities. So
I think the main thing that people think when it comes to charity is giving money.
Yeah. So there's different types of charity, and even the most basic one in our religion is smiling.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Faiza just gave such a beautiful smile. I wish you guys can see it.
They can see it if they're watching on Facebook Live.
Do comment us. Do comment in as well. So
different forms of charity.
Different forms of charity. Even giving up your time for someone. Even carrying someone's bags in Sainsbury's. If you see that they're in need, that could be charity because you're helping someone. I think charity and helping are just they're interconnected, or they mean the same thing. I think for me it's kind of the same thing.
Of course.
So the types of charity I would say is volunteering, offering your services in some shape or form to someone.
Yeah, helping someone carry the bags.
Helping someone carry their bags. Even helping your mom at home,
visiting the ill.
I think we never talk about visiting the ill. I think it's something we undermine so much. You actually get so much reward by visiting the sick.
What other forms of charity are there that you can think of? Helping one another in general.
Yeah.
I think personally,
it gives someone an ease.
That we kind of, obviously charity we associate with donating money, etc. However, I think if we come away from that, there's different forms. Some people, like, you know, in certain households, it could be the fact that, you know, they don't have enough to donate. But there are other ways to be charitable, you know, being charitable in your actions, being charitable in your words, you know, something, you could say something to someone and it could honestly just bring them so much happiness. And, you know, giving advice, advising someone, you know, if they're feeling lost or they need a little bit of guidance, that's one form of charity, you know, different things. I think sometimes we get too caught up in this whole, you know, if you donate, you have to donate, like that's the only way to give to charity. But it's not. There are so many different ways. You're right there, Mariam?
Yeah, I'm just doing the Instagram live.
Right, great. So why is it important to give to charity?
Why is it important to give to charity? It's important because obviously you're helping someone in need, and you're aiding someone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just setting up the connections.
Right, never mind then.
Sorry. Say that question again.
Why is it important to give to charity?
I think it's important to give to charity because you're helping someone, and also I think it makes you humble. It makes you grateful for what you have, and it allows you to be conscious of your blessings.
Of
because
course.
I think it's so easy to have that misconception that whatever you've been given is entitlement, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's something that God has given out of His favor.
And also, like, zakah, charity, it's the third pillar of Islam. It's a big part of us as Muslims, you know, whether it be donating money, whether it be smiling, whether it be giving advice to someone, whether it be volunteering at an event. There are so many ways of being charitable. And I feel like sometimes this kind of goes slightly, like, it doesn't happen as much as
I
it
think
should.
we just equate giving money with being charitable. But it's not, as you said before in the show, it's about, you know, what you have in your means and whatever your capacity is. In any way you can help, that is charity.
Yeah.
It's just helping. There's no designated way to help.
Exactly. In that hadith of Sahih Bukhari, it even says, the Prophet ﷺ said, your smile for your brother is a charity. Your removal of stones, thorns or bones from the parts of people is a charity.
Right.
And your guidance of a person who is lost is charity. You know, there are so many different things that you can associate with being charitable. And sometimes it only takes, 1 minute, 1 second to do these kinds of things. And
even picking up litter,
Exactly.
and you know someone's going to fall down. If you pick that litter up, you saved someone. That's charity because you offered your services to someone else, and you're saving someone else.
that kind of relates to, you know, whether it's easy or difficult to be charitable. Because again, like we said before, some people, people associate it with donating money, and some people might find that difficult. Whereas if you're doing as such, you know, other charitable things, you're helping people, you're able to give. It's easy charity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize that it's not the amount you do with anything in your religion. I think it's the sincerity. So I watched this talk, and the scholar was saying that, you know, if you have £10 and you give £2, that's more beloved to Allah. It could be more beloved to Allah than a person who has £1 million and they give £20,000. But for us, we just think, wow, £20,000.
So much,
it's such a hefty sum, and we see that £2, and we think, well, that's not going to contribute to anything. But in the eyes of Allah, that could be the most blessed £2. That could be the driving force to help someone else.
Definitely.
And you don't know how much capacity it has because Allah's blessed that. And I think it's just framing your intentions. I think it really relates back to your intentions and how much you're willing to, you know, go for the sake of Allah and do things for the sake of Allah.
Yeah, definitely. Alia, who did comment before as well, she commented again, like, thank you so much for listening into our show and commenting as well.
Do you comment on your Instagram live? I can see some people.
Yeah. She said, also, because you're showing Allah that what we receive is not ours, but what He has bestowed on us. And by giving, you're trying to equalize with people who have less. Again, couldn't agree more. Especially when it comes down to... Now, I don't know how others might feel about this, but again, let us know your thoughts and views and opinions. But when we see those adverts, now this is like just a question posing to all the listeners out there. Let us know your thoughts as well. When you see adverts about those in third world countries, those who don't have, you know, what we have, they're basically in war zones. How does that make you feel? Because I I don't know how to kind of phrase this. From some understanding, it can be, you know, some people, they can't bear to look at it because it's just so heartbreaking. Like they literally can't bear to look at it. Whereas others, you know, they will kind of compare the struggles, like, you know, I have so much, you know, they have so less, I must do this to kind of equalize that struggle kind of thing. How does that make you feel, you know, seeing such adverts or, you know, comparing the struggles? What are your thoughts?
I think comparing yourself to the struggles and watching the adverts are two separate things.
Yeah,
I think seeing those adverts, for me personally, I'm the former, what you just described.
So you can't bear to...
I can't bear to see it. I think
it's too heartbreaking.
It's too heartbreaking for me. I think I'm not strong enough to watch. I can't watch the duration without feeling upset about it.
Is it one of those?
And I don't know if I should feel selfish.
Yeah.
Because my automatic response is to change the channel. After 2 minutes, I'm like, no, I can't watch it. I feel sorry for them. I'm changing the channel. I want to distract my mind, but that is what people are suffering, and it's sad, of course. You know, I feel I don't know if this is correct or not, but I feel that is quite insensitive of me because I'm not being grateful. But I think those adverts are effective, but at the same time, sometimes I feel, I don't know if this is correct, but in some aspects, I feel like it is quite dehumanizing to some point, because, you know, it's painting a brush over. Not everyone is experiencing that. Of course, everyone has different struggle, and we should be able to see that. But I don't know. I have like a very undeveloped view of it, I would say.
I think it's heartbreaking. But sometimes it kind of brings you to that reality of, look, there are so many people suffering.
Going back home, or even doing charity events like in the UK, and you go to, for example, Luton Food Bank. If you volunteer with them and you're offering your service, and you see people that are around you that, you know, that you would not assume people would go hungry in the UK. That's not an assumption people would make.
Yeah.
Not very quickly, I would say. So, you know, it's even being conscious of your surroundings. I know this sounds quite strange, but, you know, when I used to look at laundry services, like, okay. Just hear me out, Faiza. When I look at laundry services, I used to feel quite sad, because I think there's some people that actually can't afford a washing machine, and they have to opt with using laundries. This is not to paint and brush on everyone, of course. It's just saying, you know, there are people that are in need, because I've watched documentaries, and, you know, they have to save their money in any way possible to survive. And, you know, that is a reality that's happening in the UK. It's a reality. And, you know, we're so privileged, like a small thing like that. We have washing machines in our house and we can wash our clothes. Imagine that was taken away. Exactly. It's such a small, you know, we take things for granted, such small things that we're so accustomed to in our daily routines. Yeah. If something was to be taken out, how would we function?
It's actually quite surprising, but at the same time, it's kind of sad, because, you know, alhamdulillah, we're so lucky to have so many things. Like, we're very blessed. But the thing is that we're also, like, we still want. It's like there's not, like, when is enough, you know? When is enough for you? You know, all these, whether it be material things, physical things, I don't know, emotional things. When is it enough?
I think it's when we attach ourselves to materialistic things, emotions.
Whereas we have those who are suffering, and those who don't have all what we have, but they are so grateful for the smallest things. And, you know, alhamdulillah, like it's so, like, shocking. Like, you know, a piece of clothing, one date, one, like, glass of water, they become so, like, happy and grateful for such things. And, you know, we take things for granted. We waste things. We can, you know, you buy clothes, we won't wear it, and kind of just shove it to the back of our cupboard, but we'll keep on buying and buying and buying. You know, I think you need to have that balance. Like, enough is enough. You know, sometimes that £5 or however £500, whatever you're going to spend on those trainers, do you really need those trainers compared to however many other trainers you have in your
or that designer bag?
Just this once, just donate that money. Do something that will actually, you know, utilize not just you, but that will utilize those out there as well. As in, you know, you can help them. You can bring a whole family together. You can, you know, provide them iftar. You know, it's crazy. There are so many different types of charity out there right now, every single day, especially in Ramadan. It's amazing to see so many different charity events for different causes, different ways to get involved. You know, go for those. You'll never know what you can do. You never know what happiness you can bring to those out there who are literally...
And I think it brings the satisfaction in yourself. And, you know, something that you just mentioned, it just made me think that we attach ourselves to emotions, materialistic things, and all the things
feel something.
All the things that are unfulfilling. But what do people that have, I guess, don't have these things? What do they have? They have gratitude and they have faith in Allah, and that is the most fulfilling thing. If you don't have that, then everything else will be empty, and that's why we keep seeking more and more and more, because we're not being fulfilled. Whereas the people that are less fortunate than us, they have gratitude, because Allah says, if you're grateful, He'll give you more.
Definitely.
Right? They have that belief that Allah will provide for them. Number one. Number two, they're patient. They no matter what the situation is, they're patient, and they know that there's a reason why Allah has put them in that situation. And they're not hungry for, you know, materialistic gain. They're not hungry for, you know, very emptying things. I think the most profound thing I've read online was that, and something that I always kind of reiterate in our show, is that when you become a slave of Allah, you are free from being a slave to everything else. And I think that's such a true comment, because, you know, it's so easy to become a slave of dunya.
Yeah,
and that's
very.
It's not to say that, you know, you just abandon everything and you sit in a cave and you do that, because that's not that's not the healthy approach. Islam teaches you balance, and, you know, you have to use this dunya to, you know, attain akhirah, right?
Yes.
There's a balance, and I think that one key thing that they have that makes them happy is the gratitude. If we were grateful, if you see people that are not Muslims, and I've seen a lot of TED Talks and things like that, what is the key to their happiness? They're grateful. They remind themselves every single day 3 things that they're grateful for.
Yeah.
It's a positive way of framing your mind, and you appreciate what you have. And
that's a good point, actually. You know, at the end of every day, or at the beginning of each day, remind yourself of 3 things that you're grateful for. You know?
And you'll just think, well, actually, those 3 things, there's more. There's like 100 things I could be grateful for. The fact that I'm still sleeping on this warm bed.
Crazy.
I've eaten food.
Because, like, of course, you know, you need to be grateful and whatnot. But at the same time, remember, there are those out there who don't have what you have. And at the same time, you know, comparing it can be sometimes cliche. However, at the end of the day, what will make you feel grateful? What will kind of take the need of wanting more and more and more and more away, you know, having so much faith that, you know, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you, you know, you should be grateful for that. It can be taken away from you easily, just as easily as it was given to you as well. And sometimes that's what happens. That's my first thought as well, when, you know, taking things for granted. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's given me this. However, He can easily take it away.
100%.
So you need to, you know,
100%.
be very careful, be mindful of certain things. Don't, you know, this need for wanting more and more, it's unhealthy, it's not right. And, you know, giving is just as amazing as receiving, you know.
I would argue it's even better, because if Allah says that if you give charity, it doesn't decrease your wealth. That is so profound. Like, it does not decrease your wealth. That means Allah's gonna provide for you in one shape or form.
Even in another hadith as well, Sahih Muslim, I'm sure it does say, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did say, protect yourself from hellfire even by giving a piece of date as charity.
Subhanallah. I think I've heard of that as well.
It's amazing. You know, the simplest things are charitable acts. You can be charitable in your words, charitable in your actions. It's not just about the money, you know?
It's not just even it's the way you know, say if you have an anger problem, let's just say you have an anger problem, but you use this month to treat people extra nicely. You know, you're trying to, you know, confront your anger issues. You're trying to, you know, become more mellow for the sake of Allah. And you make someone's lives easier by, you know, you're being more kinder to them. You don't react angrily, even if they anger you. You don't react, because you want to maintain peace. That could be charity, because you're
and I feel
you're helping a situation.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the test for us, is giving.
Definitely.
We
want to receive.
Test,
we don't want to give.
Exactly. Everyone. No one can say they don't like receiving, because I'm sure every single person in the world loves receiving something.
And our Prophet, he was scared to receive. When he received, he wanted to give it away.
Yeah. But like, giving that's where the test is,
That's where the blessings
are. The
are.
smallest thing, you could do so much for someone who is in need of things, who is in need of, I don't know, advice, guidance, a smile, The smallest thing can do so much for someone. You never know. And that's why I think it's always important, be empathetic, put yourself in other people's shoes sometimes as well. There are days you might have your bad days, your worst days, you just hate the world, you just want to just kind of stay at home, bed, no interaction. But remember, there is so much more to this world than you're kind of enclosed in, Giving and receiving is entrenched in Islam, and by doing that, I feel like sometimes we're so engrossed in our world, like I just said,
Our bubble.
Yeah. We kind of forget that there are so many things that we could be doing, Even the thought of helping one another. When does that ever come to your head? Like, when do you actually think about it? Because you're so, every single day, you have work, you have school, you have uni, you have exams, you have this, you have that. Have you ever taken the time out to think about, other things, like giving to charity?
Yeah, I agree. And
helping someone else.
I watched this talk, and it was about how the lowest thing that you can strive for is happiness, and the highest thing that you can strive for is positive impact. So in between was like money, status, wealth, etc., etc. Those are the next stages. But the top thing is positive impact. And it was Islamic talk, and it was talking about how if you strive for positive impact, if you strive to actually be at service of Allah's people, Allah will automatically give you status. He will give you wealth, because you won't even want it, you won't even desire it, but Allah will do that for you. And that's something I actually experienced in my university. That I wanted to, I am desperate to do some sort of service. But then Allah makes you the way. It's crazy how Allah will make the way for you. So if you serve Allah's people, believe me, I promise you, Allah will make a way for you. Because you're serving His people. So how can He deny you of blessings? How can He deny your service of His people?
Definitely.
You're a facilitator. If you facilitate someone and you're serving Allah's people, of course you're going to become beloved to Allah. Allah's going to give you extra blessings, because you're the medium in which other people are being helped. And I think if you frame your mind to think that way, that if I want to be a service to people, I want to serve Allah's people, believe me, you will see like unexpected blessings.
How else do you think we can be grateful?
I think,
or even humble ourselves?
I think being humble ourselves is when we don't get something that we really want, and something doesn't go our way. I think, or when we start to feel negative. I think those kind of feelings, that is the moment you try to be grateful, even if it's paining you, and you just force yourself to say Alhamdulillah, and you keep saying it, and just think of one thing to latch on, like having your mother alive. Like, that's a big thing. You can't imagine not having your mom.
I don't even want to think about
like that is a massive thing.
There are those out there who don't have anyone. They don't have any family. They don't have anyone they know. They're a stranger, and they literally just want maybe a little bit of like affection, or just someone to just tell them everything's going to be okay,
And mothers they have Jannah under their feet. It's for a reason, right? So I think it's just all the things that I've said on this radio show is obviously a massive message to myself.
First and foremost, definitely.
Yeah, so it's just a reminder of myself, because I'm the one who tends to overreact in situations. I'm the one who tends to get overwhelmed. But it's taking 2 steps back and thinking, actually, this is a situation that has happened. And even if you react badly, but afterwards you reflect on it,
realize,
that's okay. Even if people perceive you to be a very reactive person, if you reflect on it and you try to improve, even if it's 1%, it doesn't matter if people are not looking at you and they're not appreciating or acknowledging that you're trying. If you have that intention that actually I'm trying my best, it may seem at 1% for the rest of the world, but it's my best and I'm trying. I think that is the comfort that you can give yourself.
Like, it's quite crazy how sometimes we don't even realize that we're taking things for granted, and we're kind of so caught up in everything, we actually do end up taking so many things for
It's
granted.
like when you're stressed at university and you think, oh, I don't want to read another. Yeah, I'm an English literature student, so I don't want to read another. I don't want to read another book. But there's people out there crying to go to school.
Yeah.
They would love to cry just to read a book.
Exactly.
They are so desperate to be educated, and here we are, so easily saying, oh, I don't want to do this. I hate this.
Yeah. And honestly, it does not take that long to donate. It can literally take 5 minutes, 2 minutes at most even, And in the month of Ramadan, what could be more better?
Even if you
than
set
giving
yourself
to
a goal,
charity?
I'm going to smile at 5 people today.
Yeah.
Or give salam.
On
or
the
give
last
salam.
10 days, you're just going to give £1 each or something.
Yeah,
the smallest things.
We spend money, £10 on
Teaching
meals.
the little kids in your family about Islam.
It's like
the
we're so
smallest.
easy to spend £10. We don't think twice on food.
Exactly. So quickly as well. And in Ramadan, you don't even need the food during the day. So that lunch money that you normally use, give that to charity.
That's such a good idea. That is a very good idea.
That lunch money that you'd use every single day to eat your burger or your pizza or whatever you'd eat, give that to charity.
Or your coffee. Don't have a coffee one day.
Yeah, do something with that. And I don't know, maybe gift something to someone, help someone, teach someone something. Even the little kids in your family,
Give them time. Give them your time. I think
spending time with your
loved
family
ones,
and loved ones,
especially your elderly.
There are so many benefits in giving to charity
our elderly,
as well.
especially I own up to it. We neglect our elderly so much. They gag for our attention and love. We should give them. That is the difference between being having faith. It makes you conscious. You're supposed to be a community person. You're supposed to be charitable. Giving time to your elderly people is even science suggests that when an elderly person is being talked to, it really positively helps them.
Yeah.
So helping people there's not one designated way.
Exactly. There are so many different ways of helping people. And now remember, I feel like the main important lessons here are, it's the month of Ramadan. What could be more, how much reward can you gain, from just giving something? The biggest test, giving, instead of, receiving, of course. But give. Charity is so important. And I feel like sometimes we do kind of just forget about it. But remember, there are others out there who need this help, who need that help. And you could help them. So, give to charity as much as you can. Do as much as you can in the month of Ramadan. Make the most of half of Ramadan that's left. Yeah. But thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you everyone who joined in our discussion. Please do join us next week, inshallah, 6 to 7. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.